Hey, welcome back to my channel in this screencast. So this time we're going to do a technically oriented screencast. No fitness here. And calling it our first sprint. What we're going to get into here is I want to lay down a technical foundation of building an MVP that we'll take from the beginning of some code that we get the infrastructure set up for, build it, and get it deployed into Microsoft Azure. This is obviously going to be a number of videos, and I don't want any of those videos to be more than 20 minutes. When I do videos for a Pluralsight, we always split up the modules so that they're short enough that you could watch it while having a cup of coffee or something like that. You make a video that's like 30 minutes or longer, you lose audience, and it doesn't fit into your schedule. So I want to keep them kind of small. They'll be very focused onto the topic that we're covering, and I will have to split some of the topics we'll get into, but they'll get split across several separate videos, so it's pretty easy for you to fit it into your day to watch. So what are we going to cover in this first sprint? Well, first thing is, in my opinion, when I start a new project, first thing I do is set up a repo because I want a place to keep my code. And then we'll look at the code that I'm going to use for this, as our foundation to get us started. Pretty simple stuff, but it's a start. Then we'll talk about some Terraform and how to get that set up. More about that in a bit. And then finally, we'll get into setting up our CI/CD, or our build and release pipelines that we'll use to actually deliver this code into our environment that we're going to use. So in the set of modules that I talk about setting up a repo, first it'll be an ADO repo that we set up, and we'll talk about branching. You have a lot of different choices that you can make with branching. I'll get into it. So are you going to do git flow or some flavor of it, or are you going to do trunk-based development and the implications of each? And then we'll talk about setting up the branching policies within ADO to help enforce what you're trying to do. We'll also talk about git ignore, editor config, and a lot of those kind of basic boilerplate files that are good to put into your repo right away to have them in place before you get too much going on. And then we'll do our first commit and see how getting that stuff set up, cloning, all that type of daily activity should be done. Then we'll do a quick code review of this basic project that I've thrown together. Really simple web API, has an EF backend, talking to Squeal. Honest truth is, at one point I had it talking to MySqueal instead of Microsoft Squeal. Yes, Squeal, not SQL. Truthfully, you could do it either way. It's just a couple of changes, but we're going to use Microsoft Squeal because more than likely that's what you're going to use at work. Most organizations, you might use an Oracle database or a Microsoft SQL Server, Squeal, database. So that's the normal thing. Yes, MySQL is a really good choice to make, and there are reasons to use it, but just keep things straight and simple. And for the Terraform, there are reasons we're going to do it this way. We'll talk about setting up Terraform because there are other videos that you could watch to learn a lot more about Terraform. This is going to be very basic. We're going to get you set up so that you can start doing some work with Terraform for yourself. In this case, we'll use the app that we just reviewed as the basis for the infrastructure that we set up via Terraform. Then we'll get into doing CI/CD. We'll talk about setting up a build pipeline in ADO, how the YAML pipelines work, what tasks you can do, things like that. Then we'll get into doing a release pipeline where we actually we take the build output from the YAML pipeline and actually put it into Microsoft Azure. So we'll get into that stuff in depth. So basically, we're going to do the basics of DevOps or platform engineering, whatever you want to call it. We'll look at coding our app, and then how it gets delivered into Microsoft Azure. And where all of this is going is down the road, after we've done this, I'll have a platform from which we can go in and get into the more cool, interesting stuff where, in my opinion, kind of you really begin delivering value to the organization. We can start talking about doing our testing inside of our CI/CD pipelines, which is something you should be doing anyway. It's standard practice. But I notice not everybody's really good at doing it, and it's a pain in the neck getting it set up. And it's even worse if you don't start doing it right away. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Then, blue-green deployments, really cool tech to be able to do. I mean, we're talking really good flex there. And once you can do blue-green, we can start talking about canary testing, doing A/B split testing. Sky's the limit. And there's even more stuff that we can get into. But the first thing is I need this basic platform for us to start from as a reference point, and then we'll build from there. So that's my plan. I hope you'll come along. Hope you'll have questions and critiques, suggestions. Hey, you could do it this way. The usual conversation. I'd like it to be a two-way street. So anyway, thanks a lot. Hope you're excited to see where we go with this, and look forward to doing it. Have a good one.